Welcome back to Strides to Solutions, where we explore the fascinating intersection of equestrian sport and cognitive science. I'm Esther Adams, and today we're diving deep into something that might completely change how you think about your dressage training. Have you ever wondered why some movements feel mentally exhausting even when they're not physically demanding? Why that perfect 10-meter circle requires such intense concentration? Or why you can nail a movement in schooling but struggle under competition pressure. Today, we're dissecting USDF First Level Test 1, all 15 movements, and I'm going to show you exactly what's happening in your brain and body during each one. You're not just writing a dressage test, you're engaging in sophisticated cognitive training that rivals anything we use in clinical neuropsychology. So grab your test sheet, settle in, and prepare to discover the science behind what you practice every day. But first, let's acknowledge something important. Dressage might actually be one of the most cognitively demanding sports we have. Think about it. You're simultaneously managing spatial geometry, timing multiple transitions, coordinating bilateral aids, monitoring your horse's feedback, executing precise movements under evaluation, and doing all of this while maintaining an independent seat and effective position. Research shows us that this kind of cognitive load typically impairs motor performance in precision sports, leading to reduced movement complexity and increased errors. Yet somehow, dressage riders learn to thrive under these conditions. How? That's exactly what we're going to explore. Before we dive into the movements, let's talk about what's actually happening upstairs when you ride. Your brain isn't just along for the ride, it's working harder than you might realize. Think of executive function as your brain's project manager. It handles task initiation, actually starting something, working memory, cognitive flexibility, and inhibitory control. Every single dressage movement demands multiple executive functions simultaneously. When you enter that arena and head down centerline, your prefrontal cortex, that's the CEO of your brain, immediately activates. It's juggling ride preparation, test memorization, performance goals, and real time horse management. Most people don't realize they're getting executive function training that would cost hundreds of dollars in a clinical setting. Working memory is your mental sticky note system. It holds information temporarily while you use it. In dressage, you're constantly updating your working memory. Where am I now? Where am I going? How's my horse responding? What's my geometry supposed to look like? Research shows working memory capacity directly correlates with athletic performance. Elite athletes consistently show superior working memory skills, and dressage might be one of the best training grounds for developing this. Neuroscientists have identified three attention networks: alerting, orienting, and executive attention. Dressage engages all three simultaneously. You're alert to your environment, orienting to specific spatial targets, and using executive attention to monitor and adjust your performance. Movement 1, the executive function reset. A to X enter working trot, halt at X, salute, proceed working trot. Let's start at the beginning, literally. That entry down center line isn't just a formal requirement, it's a masterclass in executive function. The moment you hear that judge's bell, multiple brain regions light up. Your anterior cingulate cortex, think of it as your brain's gear shifting mechanism, signals the transition from preparation to performance mode. This is the same neural pathway that activates when someone with ADHD finally starts that project they've been avoiding. Task initiation is surprisingly complex. Your brain has to overcome inertia, organize multiple competing priorities, and commit to a course of action. In the arena, you can't procrastinate or avoid. The horse demands immediate, decisive action. As you head down centerline, your working memory is juggling multiple data streams: spatial information like am I straight, how far to X, motor commands for half halt preparation and seat adjustment, performance monitoring from judge observation and test requirements, plus horse feedback on rhythm, tension, and responsiveness. Your hippocampus, the brain's GPS system, is creating a spatial map while your prefrontal cortex manages the cognitive load. It's like running multiple apps on your phone simultaneously. That halt at X, it's one of the purest forms of impulse control training available. Your sympathetic nervous system is activated from performance pressure. Your horse might be forward or behind your leg, and yet you must achieve complete stillness. The neural pathway for impulse control runs from your prefrontal cortex to your motor cortex. Every time you resist the urge to fidget, adjust, or help during that halt, you're strengthening these connections. It's the same mechanism that helps people resist checking their phone during important conversations. The salute might seem ceremonial, but neurologically, it's fascinating. You're momentarily shifting from bilateral riding aids to unilateral gesture while maintaining horse connection through seat and remaining aids. This requires exceptional interhemispheric communication, the two sides of your brain coordinating complex, asymmetrical tasks. Movement 2 and 3, the working memory gymnasium. E to X half circle left 10 meters, returning to track at HB to X half circle right 10 meters, returning to track at M. These back-to-back half circles are working memory boot camp. Let me break down exactly what your brain is doing. Your posterior parietal cortex, the brain's spatial processing center, immediately engages when you approach that half circle. You're not just following a curved line, you're executing a precise geometric calculation in three-dimensional space. The 10-meter requirement forces your brain to hold multiple reference points simultaneously: current position relative to letters, arc trajectory and curve consistency, horse's bend and balance state, plus tempo and rhythm maintenance. Research shows that spatial working memory capacity predicts performance in complex motor tasks. These movements are literally expanding your cognitive capacity. Cognitive load theory explains why these movements can feel mentally exhausting. You're processing information across multiple channels. Intrinsic load from the basic task requirements like geometry, bend, and rhythm, extraneous load from environmental factors like judge, weather, and arena conditions, and germane load from the learning and skill refinement happening in real time. When riders get stuck or lose the movement, it's often cognitive overload, not physical inability. This is exactly what research tells us. Cognitive load generally impairs motor performance in precision sports, leading to reduced movement complexity and increased errors. The fact that dressage riders learn to manage this successfully is remarkable. The transition from left half circle to right half circle engages your brain's set shifting ability, switching between different mental frameworks. Your motor cortex has to completely reorganize from left bend muscle activation patterns to right bend patterns. This isn't just changing direction, it's changing entire neural networks. The left half circle activates specific motor programs, proprioceptive maps, and spatial relationships. The right half circle requires building new ones while inhibiting the previous patterns. Research on bilateral coordination shows this kind of training enhances neuroplasticity and strengthens interhemispheric communication, literally building better connections between the two sides of your brain. Your anterior cingulate cortex acts as an error detection system. When your circle drifts large or your horse loses bend, this region immediately signals the deviation. Elite riders show enhanced error monitoring. They catch mistakes faster and correct smaller deviations. This is trainable. Every time you notice and adjust a drifting circle, you're strengthening your brain's quality control system. Athletes in other sports show this same enhanced error monitoring through stronger anterior cingulate cortex activation and more efficient frontal theta oscillations. It's what allows rapid skill refinement through immediate error correction. Movement 4, the neuroplasticity breakthrough. C-circle left 20 meters in rising trot, allowing horse to stretch forward and downward. This movement represents a fascinating shift in neurocognitive demands. Let's examine why this simple stretching circle is actually neurologically complex. From a motor control perspective, this movement requires what researchers call controlled relaxation, maintaining connection while allowing freedom. Your nervous system has to simultaneously activate and inhibit different muscle groups. Your cerebellum, the brain's movement coordination center, is working overtime here. It's recalibrating your motor programs in real time as the horse's frame changes. This type of adaptive motor control is exactly what builds neural plasticity. Proprioception, your body's sense of position and movement, gets a complete workout during the stretching phase. As your horse lowers and extends, your vestibular system and proprioceptive sensors are receiving new information. Your brain has to update its body schema, the internal map of where your body is in space, while maintaining the circle geometry. It's like updating your GPS while driving a changing route. This movement demands what cognitive scientists call task switching. You're alternating attention between allowing the stretch through passive monitoring, maintaining the circle through active control, following the movement through dynamic adaptation, and preparing for the next movement through planning ahead. Each attention switch costs cognitive resources, what researchers call switch costs. Efficient riders minimize these costs through practice, developing smoother attention transitions. There's emerging research on how physical movement affects emotional regulation. The stretching circle often produces a calming effect on both horse and rider, activating the parasympathetic nervous system. Your vagus nerve, the longest cranial nerve connecting brain to body, responds to rhythmic, flowing movement. This movement pattern can actually shift you from sympathetic stress response to parasympathetic rest and digest activation. Now, here's something interesting about that parasympathetic activation during this lower intensity movement. While current research doesn't directly show that this calm state improves retention of complex motor skills, in fact, studies suggest moderate intensity exercise is better for motor memory consolidation than low intensity movement. There might be something unique happening in dressage. The parasympathetic activation during stretching movements like this one could be serving a different purpose. Rather than being the primary learning state, it might be providing crucial recovery and integration time between more cognitively demanding movements, allowing your nervous system to process and consolidate what you've just learned. Movement 5 and 14, the bilateral processing laboratory. H to P, change rein, lengthen stride and trot, then P, working trot, K to R, change rein, lengthen stride and trot, then R, working trot. The lengthening movements are where we see some of the most sophisticated neural processing. These aren't just go faster. They're exercises in graded response control and bilateral integration. Your brain has to execute what motor learning researchers call force scaling, producing the right amount of energy, not maximum effort. This requires exquisite communication between your motor cortex and spinal motor neurons. The lengthening demands increased activation without loss of control, maintained rhythm at higher energy output, coordinated bilateral aids for straightness, and prepared deactivation for the return to working trot. These movements cross the arena diagonally, demanding cross-lateral coordination, your right brain controlling left side of body and vice versa. This bilateral integration is crucial for optimal brain function. When you change rein from H to P, you're asking your left hemisphere controlling right side of body to coordinate with your right hemisphere controlling left side. The corpus callosum, the bridge between brain hemispheres, gets intensive training. Lengthenings create what neuroscientists call optimal challenge zone, difficult enough to promote adaptation, manageable enough to avoid system overload. Your brain forms new neural pathways most efficiently in this zone. The return to working trot requires immediate motor pattern switching from lengthened frame back to collected frame. This rapid pattern switching builds neural flexibility and motor learning capacity. When a lengthening goes well, your brain releases dopamine, the learning and reward neurotransmitter. This positive reinforcement strengthens the neural pathways associated with successful execution. Conversely, when lengthenings feel rushed or lose quality, your error monitoring system provides immediate feedback for motor program adjustment. Movement 6 and 7, the Processing Integration Center. A medium walk, then V to R change rein, free walk, then R medium walk. The walk work provides crucial neural processing time. Don't underestimate these easier movements. They serve essential cognitive functions. During walk, your brain often engages what neuroscientists call the default mode network, a network that activates during rest periods. This network is crucial for memory consolidation, pattern integration, creative problem solving, and stress recovery. The walk sequences allow your brain to process and integrate the motor learning from previous movements. Walk work activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the body's recovery mode. Heart rate decreases, cortisol levels drop, and muscle tension releases. This physiological reset is essential for optimal performance in subsequent movements. Free walk presents a unique cognitive challenge, maintaining straightness and rhythm while allowing complete freedom of the neck. Your brain has to maintain some controls while releasing others. This selective attention task, attending to some aspects while ignoring others, trains cognitive flexibility and attention control. The walk's 4-beat rhythm provides steady vestibular input, regular sensory information to your balance system. This rhythmic input can actually help organize your nervous system and prepare for more complex movements ahead. Movement 8 through 13, the Cantor complex, managing increased neural activation. M working trot, C working canter, left lead, E circle, left 15 meters, F to X to H change rein, X working trot, C working canter, right lead, B circle, right 15 meters, a working trot. The canter sequence represents the test's most demanding cognitive motor integration challenges. The transition from trot to canter requires complete motor program switching. Your cerebellum has to change from managing 2-beat rhythm to 3-beat rhythm, while your motor cortex reorganizes muscle activation patterns. This isn't gradual change, it's discrete neural pattern switching. Research shows that complex gait transitions build neural plasticity more effectively than single pattern practice. Canter naturally increases arousal, heart rate elevates, balance becomes more challenging, and energy increases. Your autonomic nervous system responds with increased sympathetic activation. Managing this arousal while maintaining technical precision requires sophisticated neural regulation. You're learning to perform complex tasks under physiological stress, exactly what's needed for competition performance. The Cantor circles demand integration of multiple cognitive systems: spatial processing for maintaining circle geometry in 3-beat gait, motor control for managing increased momentum and balance challenges, working memory for holding circle size while monitoring gait quality, and attention control for switching between geometry focus and gait quality focus. Left lead versus right lead canter activates different neural pathways. Many riders find one lead significantly more challenging. This often reflects hemispheric processing differences or motor asymmetries. Training both leads equally builds interhemispheric communication and motor symmetry. Your corpus callosum gets intensive bilateral integration training. Changing rein through trot at X creates massive cognitive load. Prepare downward transition from canter, execute transition at specific location, maintain straightness through diagonal, plan upward transition location and timing, and prepare opposite lead canter. This sequence challenges executive function, working memory, spatial processing, and motor control simultaneously. Movement 15, the integration finale. E to X half circle, left 10 meters, down center line, halt, salute. The final movement sequence brings us full circle, literally and neurologically. Your brain recognizes the return to familiar patterns: the 10-meter half circle from early in the test, the center line approach, the halt at X. but now these patterns are executed with all the neural adaptations from the previous movements. This is motor learning in action, taking familiar patterns and executing them with enhanced neural efficiency and integration. The final centerline approach occurs under maximum evaluation pressure. Your sympathetic nervous system is activated, stress hormones are elevated, yet you must execute precise technical skills. This is exactly the condition that builds performance resilience, the ability to maintain skill execution under pressure. Your prefrontal cortex learns to maintain control despite limbic system activation. This phenomenon explains why athletes perform differently in practice versus competition. Under pressure, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive functions and self regulation, shows altered activity. Elite athletes display more stable responses in this region during stress, while less experienced individuals show greater variability, contributing to performance decrements under pressure. Competition triggers heightened sympathetic nervous system activity, and while some arousal supports performance, excessive activation can impair attention and working memory, leading to what we call choking under pressure. The key is learning to maintain neural efficiency, performing tasks with optimal rather than excessive brain activation. That final halt represents the culmination of impulse control training throughout the test. You're asking for complete cessation of movement while maintaining mental and physical readiness. Your motor cortex must completely inhibit forward movement while your postural control systems maintain balance and position. It's a masterclass in selective neural activation and inhibition. The final salute provides psychological closure, a clear endpoint that signals your brain to begin memory consolidation of the performance. This ceremonial conclusion helps transfer the experience from working memory to long term motor memory. The collective marks integrated neural assessment. The collective marks assess exactly what neuroscience tells us matters most for optimal brain function. Gates evaluate your motor control consistency. Can you maintain rhythm and quality across varying cognitive demands? It's assessing your cerebellum's ability to coordinate complex movement patterns. Impulsion measures motivation and sustained attention. Can you maintain energy and engagement throughout the test? It reflects your brain's reward processing and goal directed behavior systems. Submission assesses emotional regulation and cognitive flexibility. Can you work cooperatively within structure while maintaining individual agency? It reflects prefrontal cortex control over limbic system responses. Rider position evaluates proprioceptive awareness and postural control under cognitive load. Can you maintain optimal body organization while processing complex information? It assesses your brain's body schema and motor control integration. Use of aids measures communication clarity and response precision. Can you deliver clear, consistent signals while managing multiple cognitive demands? It reflects your motor cortex efficiency and bilateral coordination. The bigger picture, why this matters. What you've just experienced in First Level Test 1 is sophisticated cognitive training that addresses multiple neural systems simultaneously. You've engaged in executive function training through complex sequencing and task management, working memory enhancement through spatial and temporal information processing, attention network strengthening through sustained, selective, and divided attention tasks, motor learning through bilateral integration and pattern acquisition, emotional regulation through arousal management under performance pressure, and cognitive flexibility through set shifting and adaptation demands. This integrated approach is exactly what neuroscience tells us builds robust, adaptable brain function. You're not just training to ride better, you're training your brain to function more efficiently across all domains of life. Research shows that complex motor learning transfers to other cognitive domains. The executive function skills you build in the arena carry over to workplace performance, academic achievement, and daily life management. The spatial processing skills enhance mathematical reasoning and navigation abilities. The attention control skills improve focus and concentration in all activities. The emotional regulation skills help manage stress and performance pressure in any context. Every time you ride this test, you're building new neural pathways and strengthening existing connections. Your brain is literally changing its structure and function in response to these cognitive motor challenges. This neuroplasticity doesn't stop in the arena, it enhances your brain's ability to adapt and learn in all areas of life. Now that you understand what's happening in your brain during each movement, you can optimize your training approach. Practice movements with progressive complexity for working memory training. Start with simple geometry, add gait requirements, then add transition elements. Build your cognitive capacity gradually. This aligns with research showing that executive functions, especially working memory, inhibitory control, and set shifting, are linked to superior performance in elite athletes, particularly in cognitively demanding sports like dressage. Use focused attention exercises during familiar movements for attention training. Practice switching between different attention targets, horse's rhythm, your position, geometry requirements. Remember, elite athletes consistently show superior working memory skills, and dressage provides an ideal training ground for developing this capacity. Develop your internal feedback system by consciously noting when movements feel different for error monitoring enhancement. Build awareness of subtle changes in horse response, balance, or geometry. This mirrors how athletes develop enhanced error monitoring through stronger anterior cingulate cortex activation. You're literally training your brain's quality control system. Practice under progressively challenging conditions for stress inoculation. Gradually increase performance pressure to build resilience and maintain skill execution under stress. This helps develop the stable prefrontal cortex responses that elite athletes show under pressure rather than the variability that leads to performance decrements. Pay special attention to directional differences for bilateral integration. Notice which direction or lead feels more challenging and spend extra training time building symmetry. This bilateral coordination training enhances neuroplasticity and strengthens interhemispheric communication, supporting both motor recovery and skill acquisition. Consider incorporating mental rehearsal or motor imagery alongside your physical practice. While physical practice produces greater and more robust improvements than imagery alone, combining both yields optimal results. Motor imagery is particularly effective for consolidating motor learning and can be valuable when physical practice is limited. We're just beginning to understand the cognitive complexity of equestrian sport. Future research will likely reveal even more sophisticated neural mechanisms at work during riding. Brain imaging studies of riders could show us exactly which neural networks activate during different movements. Cognitive training protocols could be developed to enhance specific riding skills. Performance psychology interventions could be tailored to individual cognitive profiles. The intersection of neuroscience and equestrian sport holds incredible promise for enhancing both horse and rider performance while promoting optimal brain health and function. The next time you ride First Level Test 1, remember, you're not just executing a sequence of movements. You're engaging in sophisticated cognitive training that builds executive function, enhances motor learning, strengthens attention networks, and promotes emotional regulation. You're training your brain through one of the most complex integrated approaches available. Every half circle, every transition, every moment of connection with your horse is contributing to enhanced neural function and cognitive capacity. That's the power of understanding the science behind what you do. It transforms routine practice into intentional cognitive enhancement. It turns dressage training into brain training. And that, my fellow riders, is how we build stronger minds through stronger partnerships with our horses. Thank you for joining me on today's journey through the cognitive landscape of First Level Test 1. Next episode, we'll explore how this neural training translates to competition performance and why understanding your brain's response to pressure can transform your show ring experience. Until then, ride with intention, Train with purpose, and remember, every stride is a step toward optimal brain function. This has been Strides to Solutions. I'm Esther Adams. Keep training those minds and those horses, and I'll see you next time.